2022 World Cup in Qatar is so close and the countdown is well and truly on ahead of the first ever World Cup tournament to be held in the Middle East. 32 nations are qualified and all eyes will be on them for 29 days from mid-November to mid-December as a truly unique tournament will take place across Qatar. Over the last 12 years, Qatar has been planning to host the World Cup and this tournament will be unlike any other. Below are questions to some of the key questions ahead of the World Cup. Starting off with, why is it in November? After the World Cup was awarded to Qatar in 2010, it was quickly decided that it would be too hot to host the tournament during its normal window in the summer months of June and July. Therefore, the first ever Winter World Cup would take place. Domestic leagues around the world, and particularly in Europe, had to postpone their season to accommodate the Winter World Cup. Most will restart in late December or early January. Laws around drinking alcohol in Qatar have been relaxed around the tournament, as fans will have certain zones where they can drink inside and out of stadiums. There are also designated fan zones and drunk tanks where fans can sober up. In a recent interview with UK Sky Sports, the leader of Qatar's World Cup bid, Nasser Al Khelaifi, said everyone is welcome in Qatar, including people from the LGBTQ plus community, and he said those fans can bring rainbow flags and show affections. Qatar has not changed any anti-laws amid concerns of visiting fans, but Al Khelaifi later told Sky that none will be discriminated against during the 29-day tournament and that gay fans can hold hands. The World Cup this year starts on November the 20th and the final is on December the 18th, 2022. Group stages will kick off all throughout the day, really, in the UK. I think the earliest one starts at 10. There's one at 1, there's some at 4 and there's some at 7, so yeah, it's going to be on throughout the day. In the UK, of course, like any other tournament, it's on BBC and ITV. And yeah, how do the World Cup groups work is another key question. Each of the 8 World Cup groups have 4 teams in them. The top 2 teams advance to the last 16 and participate in the knockout rounds. The bottom 2 each knocked out. If you win a game in the knockout round, you advance to the next round, and if you lose, you're out, of course. If you finish level on points in the World Cup group stages, the following criteria is used to determine which teams will advance. Obviously, goal differences first, then number of goals scored, then points obtained against the teams in question, then goal difference in matches played against them, then number of goals in matches played between the teams in question, fair play points in all group matches, and then drawing of lots if you still can't separate them. Imagine that. Each team can select a 26-man squad for their World Cup chances. There is an increase on the usual 23-man squad due to the extra demands of squeezing a World Cup in the middle of the season. The mascot for the World Cup is called Labib. This name is an Arabic term for super skilled player. In Qatar, so the mascot will be known for his youthful spirit and spreading joy and confidence everywhere he travels. 95% of the tickets have been sold for the World Cup. That amounts to almost 3 million tickets. The top 10 countries where tickets have been purchased are Qatar, the US, Saudi Arabia, England, Mexico, UAE, Argentina, France, Brazil and Germany. The highest average attendance at a World Cup remains the USA in 1994, where an average of 69,000 fans attended each game. It's predicted that 5 billion people around the world will watch the World Cup action. This will surpass the 3.5 billion in 2018 in Russia, so a big increase. And both the 1998 and 2014 tournaments have the record with the most goals, 171. The World Cup with the most goals per game ratio is in 1954 with an average of 5.38. I'd like to see something like that again, that'd be pretty entertaining. Anyway, which World Cup has had the least goals? Probably wouldn't want to see this. But both the 1930 and 1934 tournaments had the fewest goals with 70 in each. However, that is understandable as the tournament had just 13 teams and 1934 had 16 teams compared to 32 teams today. The World Cup with the fewest goals per game ratio with 2.21 was 1990. That's kind of like a whistle-stop tour of like facts and stats that you need to know. I'm not going to go into the groups and stuff like that and explain it. But before that, I think I'll just run you through a quick schedule of the Football Zone during the World Cup. What we're going to do? We're not going to do previews and reviews. We are going to do reviews at the end of every game week. So after in the knockouts, the round of 16 has been completed, that sort of stuff, and then like game week 1 of all the groups and stuff like that. We're going to do a video then and preview what's to come in the next rounds after that. On our Twitter page, obviously link in the description, we're going to have lots of stuff on there about the World Cup, and obviously that with daily news updates. So yeah, keep across the World Cup with us, because we're going to have it all on there. The 2022 World Cup in Qatar is missing some big teams, the likes of Italy, Egypt, Nigeria, Colombia, and some big players, Mohamed Salah, Erling Haaland, just to name a few. But that's what makes the tournament the best in sports. Brazil are looking to win their first World Cup since 2002, while England, Argentina and Germany are hoping to dethrone defending champions France. Can Belgium or Spain make a splash? Will Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo shine in what likely to be their last World Cup? And where will the likes of the US and Mexico, teams with maybe higher hopes coming into this tournament than previous ones, how will they fare? So now we're going to have a look. We've got all the fun facts out of the way. We're going to have a look at all of the teams in the World Cup, previewing their chances. We've already done our prediction video. That was last week, so if you want to check that one out. Now we're going to go through each team, talk a bit about them, and kind of try and discuss and work out how well they're going to do in this World Cup. So starting off with Group A, which is Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal and the Netherlands. Qatar opened the tournament against Ecuador in front of 60,000 fans on November the 20th, and buoyed by the occasion and energy, a win for the host would not be a shock. If Qatar are able to take a point against Senegal and Netherlands, their home side may end up progressing, but it's unlikely they'll get much further than that, you would think. Moving on into the Netherlands, definitely the favourite in Group A and should get through to knockouts, but then they'll face opponents from Group B in around the 16. In current form, the teams should be able to make the semi-finals, but it all must come together, you kind of feel, if that's to happen. Then you've got Ecuador, and the expectation, I think, is that they can match their best ever World Cup, which is 2006, when they narrowly lost out to England. But they also certainly are capable of it, and perhaps can even do a little more, but their group is certainly tough. Moving on then to Senegal, a favourable group, and the momentum from a maiden AFCON triumph have fuelled the belief in Senegal that the team are destined to emulate the achievements of the 2002 generation. However, 20 years since that great side reached the quarterfinals, they can certainly reach the knockouts, you feel. Moving on then to Group B, England, Iran, US and Wales. Group B is deceptively difficult. The US teams are 50-50 in terms of advancement. Based on recent form, the odds don't look to be improving. Health will be a huge factor with the US team, but at this stage it looks like the US could fail just short. Moving on then to England, and they would expect to get out of Group B, but the draw gets tricky. A last 16 tie, most likely against either Netherlands or Senegal, looks tough before a possible quarter-final against France or Argentina. England simply have not defended well enough, often enough, for anyone to have a high degree of confidence that they could win back-to-back matches against these elite opposition. Moving on then to Wales, and they face a tough ask to represent their recent tournament heroics. Nevertheless, although England are clear favourites to top the group, pages so would expect to be competitive for the top two spots they play for, and playing England last could help. And Iran, in 2014 they picked up just 1 point from their group. 4 years later the tally was up to 4 points despite a more difficult draw. With years of experience under their belts and a coach who knows the ins and outs of their team, it might finally be the time for Iran to try and get through to the round of 16 at the sixth time of asking. That'd be a great story. Moving on then to Group C, Mexico, Argentina, Poland and Saudi Arabia. Starting off with Mexico, Argentina of course are likely to top the group, but they should have the upper hand over Saudi Arabia and Poland to make the round of 16, I feel. However, it's difficult to see them going much further than that, but it means next team before the fifth game in an 8 consecutive World Cup. Moving on then to Argentina, if they hit form they will certainly be one of the most attractive sides in Qatar. They have the right to dream of walking away with the trophy. In a collective sense of the word, it's their best team in years, but is their defence good enough to go all the way? I don't know. The semi-finals may well be their limit. Moving on into Poland, the first match day in Group C will be crucial for Poland as they face Mexico in what could turn out to be the battle for second place behind Argentina. However, it's probable they will not make it out of the group and will leave Qatar early, and Saudi Arabia will have their work cut out. Avoiding heavy defeats will be the goal, and any points collected along the way will be a bonus for the second lowest ranked team in the tournament. Group D, it's France, Australia, Denmark and Tunisia. It's very hard to retain a World Cup. The fact that it last happened with Brazil in 1962 was so long ago shows it. However, France have the qualities to do it. Incredible talent, experience and team spirits bring them together. If Mbappe and Benzema are the best, France will be hard to stop. Australia, true to form, Arnold's has presented a positive outlook, saying my expectation is the second round. However, delivering on the target may be one of the shocks of the tournament, and a more realistic target would be a first World Cup match win since 2010. Moving on then to Denmark, I know embrace their underdog status and enter with possibly the trickiest opponents to face. They already have shown they can compete with France, while they should be confident of advancing to the round of 16. In fact, nobody should be surprised to see this well-balanced side in the latter stages. For Tunisia, on paper they don't have enough to progress. Even though confidence being dented by the demolition by Brazil, Tunisia's defensive solidarity gives them optimism of neutralising the Danes and troubling France, but realistically neither side should be concerned about these two. Moving on then to Group E, Spain, Costa Rica, Germany and Japan. Starting off with Germany, who should be able to get through the groups if they can get results against Japan and Costa Rica, with Spain the toughest test on paper, which would be an improvement on 2018. However, it's unlikely they managed to overcome their defensive weakness to contend for the trophy. For Spain though, not a group where Spain can have a bad day at the office. The order of matches could be at its worth. Ultra defensive Costa Rica, unpredictable but talented and physical Germany, then the super energetic, thrilling Japan. If Spain can escape their groups, their momentum can take them to at least the semis. Moving on then to Japan, at any other World Cup, Japan would have had an excellent chance of making it out of the groups, but Germany and Spain could prove just too much of a hurdle. It has not stopped them from setting their quarter-final target, but that looks unlikely. And for Costa Rica, it's improbable that Costa Rica will get out of the group, although some may point to 2014, where they topped an equally challenging group with Uruguay, Italy and England. The odds of them recreating the main magic are small though, however. Moving on then to Group F, Belgium, Canada, Morocco and Croatia. Belgium can do well as they did in the last World Cup and finish third, and that would be an achievement. They are not going into this tournament with any momentum and not among the favourites like they were 4 years ago. However, they are still talented, with De Bruyne a special player who can carry them far. I think a quarter-final exit maybe could be probable. Moving on then to Croatia, on a similar level to their main group opponents, Belgium, they should have enough to get out the knockouts round, but winning a group could make all the difference. Should they come second, they will probably go out in the round of 16 as group winners. However, they could go 1 or 2 sets further. Moving on then to Canada, and the draw did them no favours. Could they spring an upset though? It's impossible, but looking at the opposition, progressing past the group stage seems a step too far despite all of the improvements. Morocco were mightily unfortunate being put to the bench Portugal and Spain and Russia, and can similarly rule their luck this time around. However, look at little Croatia. Both Croatia and Belgium have weaknesses that can be exploited. If the Lions get the right balance and identify a genuine goal threat, they can realistically hope to reach the knockouts for the first time since 1986. Moving then to Group G, Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland and Cameroon. Brazil weren't far off 4 years ago, but they were unlucky to lose to Belgium in the quarters. They are a better side now and will take some stopping. Since their 2002 World Cup win, every campaign has ended after they met European opposition in the knockout phase. How they will cope with the European challenge this time, it remains to be seen, but for me they are among the favourites. For Serbia, their group's quite difficult, and even if Serbia manage to reach the knockout rounds, their next opponent won't be any easier. Anything past round 16 is possible, but that would be nothing short of miraculous for me. Switzerland, the match against Serbia is likely to be decisive for them, not only because it will be the last in their group, but because the two teams are on a similar level and likely to fight for second spot behind clear favourites Brazil. If they beat Serbia, they will have a good chance to make it to the round of 16. For Cameroon, the recent defeats by Uzbekistan and South Korea have brought Cameroon down to earth after magical qualification against Algeria and Ringbot Song, who will know that a strong start against Switzerland is imperative. Even if they're still alive by the final group game against Brazil, Cameroon must still prove they can hold their nerve and advance, but it looks tough. And finally, Group H, Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay and South Korea. Not only do Portugal need to cope with an interesting and disparate job, but they should have got to be canny. Should Fernando Santos' team finish second, and almost certainly it's Brazil in the next round. Too much you may say, but if they win the group they may get to face Serbia. Ghana though, a tough group means they're up against it, and a first round exit looks likely. However, they may be quietly confident in grudge matches against ageing Portugal and Uruguay teams. Their youth could get them through. For Uruguay, one of the hardest teams to predict because of their own dilemmas and the ferociously balanced nature of the group. Coach Diego Alonso says the team are aiming to win the trophy, but if he fails to get the balance right, it could be a case of elimination at the group stage. For South Korea, if Son is fit, and it looks like he is, South Korea should stand a chance of victory over Ghana, and is a must, and they should manage to get a point off either Portugal or Uruguay, and that could see them through to the round of 16. Anyway guys, that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching. To like, share, subscribe, don't forget to comment down below if you want to see the show for daily football news, and subscribe to the channel, greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.